Welcome back, strangers. Tonight, we're here with MichaelScot and Joey Adventures, and we're going to be talking about paranormal experiences and our experiences on our recent paranormal investigation of I'm hearing stuff, of our investigation of the Bellamy Mansion and the USS North Carolina. Give me 1 second, my video was playing. Okay, figured it out. But yeah, so do you guys want to introduce who you are and what you guys do? I'll let Michael go first because why not? Oh, he's gone. Michael's gone. What happened to Michael?
Oh, no.
I didn't know he's gone. All right, Joey, you introduce yourself. Michael lost his privileges.
Okay. Hi, I'm Joey. I have a channel called Joey Adventures, and I like to paranormal investigate and learn about places, and yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
I'm sorry. I swear it was the ghost.
Michael's getting all these ghosts messing with his stuff.
First it was my ear pods, and now well, I thought maybe you were getting an echo because I had YouTube pulled up. So not thinking, I just closed the internet, and I was like, shit, god damn it.
It was actually me. Like I usually have it set right, but I struggled, so that's my fault.
Thanks.
But yeah, so who are you, Michael? What do you do?
Let's see. I am a paranormal investigator here on YouTube. I go to different spooky places. I also do other videos on my channel talking about different urban legends, aliens, alien abductions, anything paranormal, really. Anything creepy, spooky.
Yeah, and you also put out a new video today on, I'm probably going to mispronounce it. Is it La Lorna?
La Llorona.
La Llorona.
Yes. This weekend, well, last weekend, me and my friends went out to go see if we could find her ghost somewhere because the movie's coming out, so why not?
Yeah, I didn't even know the movie was coming out. Like, I saw you post a video. I mean, I saw you post something on, it might have been on Twitter about it, and I was like, what's that? And then I was like, oh, it's a movie. So
yeah, it's a really cool urban legend from it's within like the Mexican folklore. I think that's where it originated, but it's a really cool urban legend. So if you want to learn more, go check out my channel.
My plan was to come home and watch it today, but then I ended up falling asleep. So I'm going to watch it after the live stream, I promise. But
anytime, it'll be there.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's going to be a fun night. We're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff. But let me catch up on the chat real quick. Ethan, how's it going? Ethan and Rebecca aren't here. Well, Rebecca's usually not here, but Ethan's on a road trip with Rebecca. Can't say where, but they're going somewhere cool, and you guys will get to see it soon. So it's going to be a fun time in the future. I stayed behind to talk about spooky stuff. But hey, Lex, how's it going? Good to see you. Stacy, good to see you as always. Spooky said I almost chatted on my personal account. That was a close one. Yeah, I've caught myself almost doing that and like commenting on other channels with my personal account. I was like, no, they can't know. Nature's Baby said hi, my JoJo. Thanks for hanging out. Masudo-chan, good to see you. Glad you came. We're well. Hope you're well. Who else we got? Amy Only, good to see you as always. Ghostwatch, anyone that hasn't seen Ghostwatch, go check him out. He's another good YouTuber, and all the YouTubers in our chat, they're good. Check them out. We've got a great paranormal community. After Dark Analysis, another good channel. Check her out. How's it going? But yeah, I think we're caught up. So I made an outline today in no time at all, so it's probably a struggle, but it'll help us get along. So, starting out, what are both of your thoughts on the paranormal as far as, legitimacy? Like, have you always believed in the paranormal, and do you currently believe in the paranormal?
Go ahead, Joey. Ladies first.
I definitely have had times where I was like, I don't believe in it. And since I've investigated for myself and, found some evidence for my own self, I truly believe in the paranormal. And I don't believe it's what everyone thinks it is, but, I like to come up with more theories on it and so on.
Mm-hmm. I think I've always kind of believed in the paranormal and that something else was out there. I think that's kind of what drives me to investigate and find evidence, and I'm always just looking for proof that it's there. I've always had a feeling that there was something else out there. I want that like definitive proof saying yes, there is something there. So that's why I keep going out and looking for these spooky, strange aliens and monsters and ghosts.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, like when I was a kid, I believed in it pretty hardcore. And I think most kids are, they're like, ghosts are real, just on the fact that things are scary. But then I kind of grew, like I went to a phase where I was like, I knew there was weird stuff out there. I was always interested in the paranormal, but I kind of was like, okay, it's probably not real, but it's a fun topic. And I always considered myself a hopeful skeptic. That's always, if you go through our old live streams, I always said hopeful skeptic. But after the experiences that we went through, it's hard to be a skeptic.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were, I think that during our time on the battleship, I think that's some of the loudest responses that I've ever encountered while at a haunted location. It was like insane.
Me too.
Yeah, it was an experience, and telling people about it, I feel like during the editing process, I felt like a crazy person because like every day I'd come up to like my coworkers and be like, I found some new creepy stuff. You want to hear it? It's like, listen to this voice I heard that no one else in the room heard. And it's especially Joey, like you got some really weird ones.
Yeah.
Like yours make no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. You guys both got really good EVPs. Both of you like caught something saying get out. And I was really happy that I can't remember if it was yours, Blake, or Joey's, who caught the EVP in the barbershop after it felt like something sat down next to me. One of your videos caught an EVP after that.
It was mine.
Yeah. And I thought that was awesome that it caught it because it was almost like confirmation that something did sit next to me. So it was really cool.
And that's what got me about it. It's like, seeing you react, I was like, again, like I'm not trying to sound like a hater because I'm definitely not, but it's like he says he felt something, but who am I? How do I know unless I feel something? Like that's always been my mentality. It's like something could have happened, but I wouldn't know unless I was there. But then hearing that before and after, I was like, oh my God, something definitely was there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's really creepy.
And I always find it weird how, like all three of us were there when it happened and all of us had our cameras running. And it's so weird that, like an EVP will show up on one person's equipment and like I didn't hear it on mine. And I don't know, Joey, if you heard it on yours or anything or just didn't hear it while we were editing, but it came through really clear on yours. So.
Yeah. And she got some like ladies yodeling and stuff. It's like, that's another thing. It's like for ours, like for mine, even it's like when you hear a male whisper, you're like, well, there was another guy in the room. But when the only girl gets a female voice and damn well there wasn't another woman on the ship completely. Like there were no women on that ship. Especially within earshot of us. And someone said, oh, well, she may have edited that. I was like, you can hear the echo from the hallway in the voice of whatever it is. It's like, you can't edit that. You'd have to be like a master audio manipulator.
First of all, I'm going to tell people I edit on my phone. So it's really hard to edit in stuff like that if I'm going to like purposely fake something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And on that topic, they were talking about in the chat that, fakers make people sick. And it does. Like, I really hate that there's a bunch of big YouTubers that just put out fake evidence and people eat it up.
And, and it sucks for people that are really looking for the truth because when their subscribers come to our channel and comment stuff like, well, nothing really happened. Well, that's really actually how it goes in the paranormal. You spend a lot of time waiting, and when you do catch something, it's normally not a table or chair flipping across the room, or you don't catch that kind of evidence often at all. So it really kind of discredits what we do when they're putting out this bogus evidence all the time.
Exactly. And there's one guy that really, I know there's a lot more that do it. I've seen it. But there's one. It was like he used to do vines. It was like Lance something. I can't remember his name. But he did one video about my house is haunted, and like then he went on to do like a not exorcism, but a poltergeist video where he gets dragged out of the bed, and people tore the video apart, and they saw where you can see where his lamp just half of it disappears at one time because the green screen work wasn't done well.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I mean, people see that and they're like, "Oh, that guy got pulled out of his bed. And these guys just caught bangs and like voices. That's nothing." It's like that's incredible. It's like it might not seem like if you've watched Paranormal Activity and you think that's real found footage, it might not sound like a lot, but that's huge.
Yeah, yeah, it's very rare for those types of hauntings to exist or occur and to catch that type of evidence. It doesn't happen often, and I don't know, it's something I definitely want to catch one day on camera, but I just haven't done it yet.
Let's be real though, if we were on that ship and something had moved, that would have been the end. We would have been gone.
Yeah. We were ready to run after just a couple bangs.
Guys, it was embarrassing at the end of that night. Like 3 paranormal investigators against the wall, hoping nothing happens. Just killing time is like, all right, this is...
At the end of the night when we were all huddled in the barber shop against the wall, and we're just sitting there staring like, okay, please make a bang. And then we're all sitting there like, please don't do it, please don't do it, please don't do it.
And plus it was dark. It was dark, so it was even scarier.
I know. I kept insisting that we did get results when it was only all in the dark, but like I kept insisting, it's like, all right, turn off all the lights. But that's just how it happened. And I've talked to, people about it. I kind of think that's the reason why there's so little evidence, in the world of ghosts, because it seems like they know if you're recording. Because the only time like really crazy stuff happened, well, aside from Michael catching the bangs on his camera, like I thought my recorder was off. I had no idea it was running. And then that's when we started hearing things in the barbershop. Like if I had known it was running, it might not have happened. Who knows? But
yeah, I'm really glad that I kept my recording. Because I don't know why, but something told me just keep recording. And so I turned off all the lights on my camera, and even my screen is like a flip out screen. I even flipped it in and closed it so that wasn't showing either, just to make it even more dark. I'm glad I kept it running because that was so cool, such cool evidence. I still really think that maybe it was one of those padlocks that were like hitting against the door.
Yeah, and rewatching your videos, like it really does sound like it. Like it sounds like it clanging. It's pretty loud. But yeah, it was a pretty cool time. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later in the live stream. But I do want to hit on some other things really quick. So, what is your most notable paranormal experience aside from what we've done?
I think I'm trying to think. I think a lot of stuff. One of the first things that comes to mind is when I went to a place near my house. It's a haunted woods. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I was standing in the middle of a clearing, and it sounded like footsteps come up behind me. And as weird as it sounds, it almost sounds like the footsteps just kind of like diverged around me and then kept walking forward. And I caught it on my camera while I was there investigating. I can't remember the name of that forest that I went to though, but that was one of the times where I was like, holy shit. I'm like, did something just like walk around me? And you can hear it really clear in my video too. So that was like a really cool experience that I had.
That's creepy. Did you get any like cold chills or anything, or did it just kind of...
The whole time I was there, and I say this about a lot of haunted locations that I go to, I feel like everybody's a little bit psychic and they pick up on things in different ways, whether it's feeling chills or hearing things or anything like that. But whenever I'm at a haunted location, for me, I always feel like there's something standing behind me, like watching me. Like I just always feel the eyes on me. And I could feel that while I was there in those woods. And it's just, I don't know, it's such a creepy place.
And on that topic, that's something that really bothered me editing, because when we were like on the ship, I didn't have too much that I remember in the mansion, but we were on the ship. I had the overwhelming feeling like something was behind me. And it seemed like every time I turned around in the video, something had happened that I didn't catch. It's like that voice saying, "Get out of here." I didn't hear that. I just felt like something was behind me. And it's like, every time I felt like that, has there been something around me? It's like, that's not good. Because in that ship, I turned around, especially when we left the barber shop. I was like turning around every like couple seconds. I was like, there's something behind us. There's something behind us. I'm going to turn around and there's going to be a man standing there. And I don't know. It's weird.
I felt that in the engine room, because when I went down first by myself in there. So
brag, humble brag.
Right.
Exactly.
I went first, guys.
I did, but like I felt like something was watching me down there the entire time, and it was so dark, and I was just like, I was kind of moving fast because I was scared. Like, it's just so many things around you, and I don't know, it was so creepy.
It was. So what's the most insane experience you've had, Joey, as far as paranormal?
Most insane. I would say the first time that I heard EVP, because that was just like some kind of confirmation something was there. It was like nothing too crazy. I remember I was at the, I've always investigated, but I never got any like substantial evidence that there was something more. And my first EVP was at the Bentonville battlefield, you know, and I was just asking questions, and all of a sudden I was like, is anybody here? And then I hear this response in a very low voice saying, here. And I freaked out, and I had an existential crisis, and that was probably like my most memorable.
When you were talking just now about EVPs, it reminded me of another like really cool experience I had while we were at the, I think I've said this before, but it was at the Villisca Axe Murder House. And it was through the spirit box. We were down in the living room near the children's bedroom, and we were rolling a ball back and forth, trying to like entice the children to come out. And as we were rolling the ball through the spirit box, you could hear somebody say, "Catch it." And that was one of the coolest things, you know, because that's the kind of thing you look for. You look for intelligent responses to what you're doing that really encompass or interact with you in the moment, you know? So when you are rolling a ball and you hear somebody catch it, what are the odds of, you know, something like that coming across?
Yeah, when you think about it, it's a rare occurrence. And I mean, or just saying, you know, make a noise in 10 seconds or we're leaving, and then it makes a noise at 10 seconds. Like, it doesn't get much more intelligent. I mean, it's just a loud bang, but still it's pretty, I mean, we had a lot of times where it was like on command that something would happen.
Yeah. Blake if you're ever investigating with him, he likes to do countdowns, which always it freaked me out so bad while we were doing it, because I knew something was going to happen. And so he'd always start counting down, and it would be very shortly after that we would hear something. And I'm like, can you stop it? You're freaking me out.
Yeah.
What I didn't tell them, it was that I was just as freaked out as they were. I just knew as soon as we turned the lights on, something was going to be there. Like, it was just going to be the first full body apparition I've ever seen. I'm just going to shit my pants. And I would have too. Like, that would have been too much for me. It's like, it was enough hearing sounds. Because like I walked into that battleship confident. Like, in the beginning, we all did live streams by ourselves, which I didn't know until afterwards that everyone hated me for. But it's like, we were all brave enough to go to weird places on our own. But at the end,
Yeah, I think we were all really brave in the beginning. We went, like, when I was doing my live stream, I was a little creeped out, but I was okay being on my own. But later on, I was like, you guys are not leaving my side. I'm not doing this alone.
I wonder if it's just because we knew everyone was watching and they'd be with us. Because, like, if you watch mine, like, I'll hear a noise, but like, what's that? Let's go investigate. At the end of the night, it's like, what's that? Well, we should stop.
Yeah.
And, oh God, everything was like freaking us out though. Even the AC would come on every now and then. It's so loud. That freaked us out a couple times, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, Nightmare Files. How are you? Sorry, I'm like reading the chat too as we're
you're
talking,
fine.
But...
I'm kind of struggling reading the chat. I'm trying to pop in here and there. They're talking about sleep paralysis. That's a whole other can of worms that I don't have time to talk about tonight, but I will talk your ear off about sleep paralysis. And that's another thing I've had for a long time, and now I'm starting to wonder, it's like, is it paranormal? Because if it is, that sucks, because I get it very often.
Yeah.
But so we were talking about, like, you know, the equipment and stuff like that. I lost my question. Okay. What kind of equipment do you guys use, and what is your favorite equipment, or what kind of equipment would you like to get that you don't have?
You know, is kind of as lame as it sounds. I think my favorite piece of equipment is just my camera. Being able to catch video evidence and audio evidence. I think it's like a really great tool, especially for somebody just starting out. That's the first thing I would say to get. And then after that would probably be my spirit box, just because it's really cool to get in the moment responses, and, you know, as you're asking questions, have the answers come through.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing. Like, I really enjoyed investigating with you guys, because, like, Michael just has this big old box of toys. And it's like, we got spirit dice, got spirit box, got all this stuff. Like, that laser grid, I think, was really cool. I
felt like a ghost hunting drug dealer. Hey guys, what do you want to use? You want to use some of my equipment?
Hey guys, you want to see some ghosts? We got all ghosts.
Exactly, yeah.
But no, you have some really cool stuff. But like you said, like, really, when it comes down to it, most of the stuff I caught was on the phone, on my cell phone's voice recorder, or, you know, just on a handy cam. So you don't have to have all this fancy equipment, but I think it's really cool, because, I mean, it gives you more, if you want to communicate with whatever's there, it gives you a lot more mediums. But what about you, Joey? Do you have anything you have or want?
Well, I only use my phone, as everyone's seen, but
hey, you have a flashlight now.
She does. Yeah. She's got a flashlight. Her quality just skyrocketed.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Well, I actually just purchased the spirit box, so I should get that soon. So
you did?
Yes, I did.
That's awesome. We don't have one of those yet, so you're ahead of the game. But again, I mean, you just used your cell phone and you caught some really crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So voices, man, like that, like, for a while I was showing people like the EVPs I caught, and I was like, no, listen to this. It's like, this is crazy. They're like, well, who's the guy making that weird voice? It's like, that's not a guy, and they weren't there. So you can hear it talking over us. So everyone, check out, if you haven't already, check out Michael and Joey's videos. We all did 2 videos on each of the places we investigated, because they caught some really cool stuff. And
the cool thing is that we all caught different things too. Like, you and Joey both caught a ton more EVPs than I did, and I think you two were both told to get out and I wasn't. So I think they know who their favorite was.
Definitely. Like, that game, the thing is, like, and I'm about to, later in the night, I'll read a story about, like, the hauntings of the ship. But that was one of the, like, most reported things that people hear is, like, get out of here now, and stuff like that. And it's like, I didn't know about the history going in. I was just like, this place is supposedly haunted. I want to go. And actually, after Ethan sent me, like, the research he had done, I was like, oh my God. It's like a lot of the things that people report we experienced.
Yeah, you know, I do that a lot when I go into do investigations. I'll read just a little bit to know a little bit about the location and like kind of what the main spirits there are, but I don't go too far in depth because I don't want that to influence what I feel or perceive there. I like to just go in kind of like a clear mind and just see what I come up with. And then afterwards, I'll go back and look and see what other people have experienced and see if it's the same thing as me.
Yeah. It's definitely a weird time reading back, though. Like that, I don't think that ship gets nearly enough praise. Like it's listed as number 2 in the haunted places in Wilmington, and it's like, are you sure? Oh, thank you, After Dark Paranormal. You're awesome. We appreciate that. You're great. Everyone, check out After Dark Paranormal, by the way.
I definitely think that the Battleship, I want to say, is probably the place where I've collected the most evidence ever. Like, it's just an awesome place. There's so much activity.
There really was. After Dark, thanks again. Are you meaning to do that? That's really awesome. Are you making it rain? Thank you. We really appreciate that. You're great. Yeah. So, So what were your thoughts leading up to the investigation? Like, were you worried? Like, I know, Michael, you do it a lot. You're always meeting new people, but do you ever wonder if you're going to get like kidnapped or, someone's going to be really weird?
It's funny, the things that I get nervous about before meeting new people never have to do with the other people. You would think maybe there would be a worry in my head that I would get murdered one day, but no, I usually just freak out about what if these people think I'm really awkward and weird. And that's what I get anxious about. But no, I don't know. I think especially talking to people beforehand, like, or doing collabs like we have before, you kind of get a read for people and kind of know if they're kind of crazy or not before you go. But
we hide our crazy. It's like, until you meet us in person, you don't know the crazy. But yeah, it was a really good time though. Like, we've never actually met up with people from, the YouTubes. Our parents always told us not to meet up with strangers, but that's what we do. That's their whole community now.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Joey? Were you freaked out?
I wasn't freaked out. I think I have pretty good instincts whenever I talk to people, so I usually know if something's off or not. And I felt fine, except I was a little bit nervous as far as like the same thing that Michael said, like, oh, do they think I'm awkward? Blah blah, yeah.
I think I
didn't expect to be called a motherfucker all night long. So.
Oh god, that was great. It's just like, you motherfuckers, I hate you. I fucking hate y'all. Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, the first night at the mansion, we were all like, we got to know each other, but we were kind of like, had our guard up. But then on the Battleship, like, and we all were freaking out together. And I think that kind of creates a bond. It's like when you've seen each other at their most unprotected.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was a fun time. I'm really glad we got to do it. And I definitely want to do it again. So got to get that going. Mm-hmm. But to shift the topic, we haven't talked much about the mansion. The Bellamy Mansion was the first place that we investigated. And I'm going to read just a little bit of history. Hopefully it doesn't drag on too long. But just a brief history and some of the reported things, and then we'll get into what we experienced. So the Bellamy Mansion was built between 1959 and 1861 for Dr. John Bellamy and his family. It's one of the most magnificent houses in Wilmington, North Carolina. It has 22 rooms, 10,000 total square feet, and a rooftop belvedere, that's creepy, that provides a gorgeous view of downtown. The home does have a dark history that causes many to believe it's one of the most haunted houses in North Carolina. So in 1990, a film crew had a strange experience in the home. After wrapping their shoot, they began looking through stacks of paper and old boxes in the library. Suddenly, they heard the front door slam shut and loud, heavy footsteps coming down the hall. They were terrified because they were supposed to be the only ones in the mansion. Minutes later, the library door swung open on its own. Cold air began rushing into the room, causing all of the old papers to scatter across the library. The film crew immediately ran out of the house, and when they slammed the front door closed on they slammed their door on the way out, and something began pounding against the door. It was so loud that it rattled the front windows of the home. In 1994, the Bellamy Mansion Museum of History and Design Arts officially opened to the public, but it didn't take long before visitors and tour guides also began to experience activity. So people have heard children's voices coming from empty rooms, and people report catching a glimpse of a ghostly child smiling in the corner of the old children's playroom before vanishing in thin air. Many blame the sightings on the ghost of one of the Bellamy's mischievous children still playing tricks after death. Doors are known to slam shut on their own, and many report hearing unexplained noises while in the home. Heavy footsteps are often heard walking around the upstairs despite no one being there. Paranormal investigators have captured several strange photos, videos, and EVPs while investigating the mansion. Many also believe the home is haunted by Ellen Bellamy, who was 94 when she died in the mansion. Her old wheelchair is known to move itself from one room to another. Some wedding guests, you can get married there if you didn't know, they have claimed they've seen Ellen's wheelchair following them around the mansion. She spent her last days laying in bed and reading the newspaper every day, and supposedly you can still find her ink-stained handprints on the wall, despite the walls being repeatedly repainted. And I didn't know any of that walking into the mansion. All I knew was there was a weird photo that people had found of, like, I think it was one of the chairs, like a rocking chair, and they had some kind of weird apparition or something in it. But I think we all experienced some similar things in the mansion. Like footsteps, especially.
Yeah, definitely footsteps. I think that was one of the biggest thing that I picked up on while I was there. The only thing that I didn't like while investigating there is since the main road was so close, you could pick up on a lot of like traffic noise going back and forth. But other than that, the footsteps, is that, I think in your guys' videos, you caught a lot of orbs, didn't you, at the mansion?
I caught a lot in the doll room, which admittedly that's where I spent most of my time, because I was like, this is creepy, I'm just going to stay in here. But yeah, I caught a lot of orbs, and then I didn't really catch many footsteps, but I remember hearing them with you. Like, I think we were in the doll room again, and we all heard them coming from either the outside or downstairs. But to my knowledge, Ethan and Rebecca were outside, so it wasn't them.
Well, and Joey and I were together at one point, and I can't remember what it was. It footsteps that we heard, Joey? I don't remember what it was, but we went to go look for Ethan and Blake to see where they were, because we thought maybe it was them. But then Ethan was outside.
It was a metal dragging sound, and it was
That's what it was.
Yeah, it was really loud, and I was like, is something dragging underneath the car? I was like, but it sounded like it was above us, so that was the strange thing, and unfortunately, we didn't catch that on film, so.
Yeah, and another thing, like you kind of touched on a little bit about the mansion that I didn't like, is that there was so much noise pollution. It's like, because it's right off the road. Like, there's no like path leading up to it on a haunted hill. It's just on the road. So you hear a lot of cars going by, and you have to be careful to differentiate what's traffic and what's not. But there were definitely some sounds in the house. But like aside, like in the doll room, I'd hear like tapping and, you know, little noises here and there. And in the Belvedere, I heard like a lot of tapping, which was weird because I heard it when I was up there alone, but then when everyone else was up there, nothing.
Yeah, when I was in the doll room too, there was a couple times where I thought I heard something like tap on the fireplace that was in there. And so I asked if it was tapping on the fireplace, and after I asked that, then it almost like it moved across the room, and then it sounded like it was coming from the other side of the bed where I was at. So definitely tapping up there too, the tapping and footsteps.
It was weird. But the whole night, like I don't think there was a time that I was like scared, except for like getting scared by other people. Or like I was hearing things and I'd get like chills and I'd be like, all right, this is weird. But it never like, oh my God, I'm not going in that room. Like I never got to that point. Like the fact that I stayed alone in the doll room should show that, you know, to an extent, I wasn't that scared of it. But
we kind of thought you were possessed up there because you were up there for like an hour.
At the end of the video, Ethan's just like, "Where's Blake? He's been gone for a while." But who knows? Would we know if we got possessed? Would we just like snap back in and think that like not even a second had passed? Who knows? Maybe we did get possessed. Joey wanted someone to get possessed.
Yeah.
I did say that.
Yeah. How's it going, Evisceration? He actually asked earlier. I'm not sure if you guys covered it or not, but how deeply do you believe that these places that you visit are actually haunted? Before going, I didn't think they were. After leaving, I'm pretty positive they were, in my experience at least.
Yeah, definitely. In both places, I think we heard enough stuff to know that there was definitely something else there besides us. Even when we were, using the spirit dice up at the top, what was that room called?
The Belvedere.
Yeah, using the spirit dice up there, I was really, really surprised by how accurate the answers we got. And it was like question after question that they were answering spot on, like asking how many kids they had, and the dice answered that correctly, and asking what, like tragedy happened in the house, and it answered that correctly. And just, it was really cool.
Yeah, that was weird. I was shocked how many like answers were there actually.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty neat. I'd never even heard of spirit dice before then, so that was a pretty cool experience. But that was a lot of fun to play with. But Joey, you had actually been to the mansion before that night, hadn't you?
Yes, I have.
So, did you have any weird experiences on that trip?
No, because it was like a self-guided tour, so I couldn't really like, do anything too crazy or stay there so long. But I did hear a lot of interesting EVPs, which made me want to come back, because I asked one specific question I said, is the Bellamy family still here? And I got a response from a male voice, it seemed, and it said all of them. And I was like, whoa. And it was crazy. So
that is crazy.
But that was probably like the EVPs, and like I heard children's laughter by the stage on my recorder. So that was very creepy.
Yeah, I didn't know that they had a history of hearing children's voices. And, sitting in the room, I didn't hear anything. But again, EVPs from just my cell phone, like it sounds like a child's voice. And at first I was really skeptical. I was like, maybe it could have been Joey or Rebecca, but I reached out and no one was in that area or seemed to be in that area. And listening to it, it definitely didn't sound like Joey. It had like a Southern accent, which could have been Rebecca, but Rebecca doesn't really talk that much, especially not that loud. And whatever it said, it wasn't legible. And I put it out there thinking, maybe it is something weird. But after the next, editing process, I was like, that shit was probably real. So, because I'm kind of new to the EVP world. Like I knew of them, but I'd never experienced one that I took myself. And again, like I've always been the person where if it doesn't happen to me, I don't know if it's real, because I have to know the variables. And I know I was alone in that room and I was picking up sounds that weren't me. So
the Ghost Watch asked, where do you get spirit dice? I'd love to try them. The company, or the guy that I got mine through, real quick, I think his company is called McBain's. He does all these different like mythical devices and divination tools. On my Instagram, I have a picture of the spirit dice, and I think I tagged him in the photo. So if you go to his Instagram, you could DM him, and he custom makes them, so you could have him custom make them for you.
That's pretty cool. I wish they had just a store to go. Like, you can just go and get that stuff. Like just a paranormal store. I hope that like New Orleans had like some kind of shop, but they didn't have anything that I saw. But
yeah, and it's funny because like when you go to those stores, you think they'd have a lot of different types of divination tools and ways to communicate with spirits. And a lot of times it's just either the Ouija board or the pendulum. And that's what you find. You don't find all the other little lesser known types of tools.
Yeah. Speaking of tools that you can find, Today I went out and actually bought this because I know that my phone recorder did so well. I actually went out and bought a dedicated voice recorder. So next time I'm leaving it running the entire time so I don't miss anything. Because the only reason I had the phone running was an accident, but look at all the things we would have missed if it hadn't been running. So I definitely want to have a dedicated one. And I also want to buy a laser grid and some other stuff. I'm trying to stock up. I also bought walkie-talkies. I think I told you that. So next time, if we do an investigation and we hear something, we can be like, yo, where are you?
Yeah, the laser grid, I go to, it's a website, ghoststop.com, and they sell all different types of paranormal, like electronic equipment. And that's where I got the laser grid from. And I think it's really, really cheap for the laser grid. I think it's maybe like in between $5 or $10, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. The first time I ever saw something like that, it was probably like Paranormal Activity, where they had the Xbox Connect going, and then you see I don't know if you've seen it, but you see the figure move in front of it. And I was like, oh, that's really creepy. And then I saw you pull it out, and I was like, what is that? That's a thing? You can do that?
Yeah, and I was really surprised to catch. I don't know. In my video when I was doing the laser grid session at Bellamy Mansion, and something moved through it. I didn't know exactly what it was. It was just some type of anomaly that just moved through the laser, and that was really cool because I think that's the first time. No, I caught something in the orphanage basement too, but this is only the second time I've caught something with the laser grid, and I've used it a lot.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. The light going off by itself and just kind of moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never had anything happen with a laser grid, so I thought that was awesome that he caught that.
I will say that was some of the tensest moments for me, because I was just like staring so intently at the wall, and I was like, is something going to move? Is something going to move? Is something going to move? What do I do if something moves? Especially in the engine room of the ship, that really got to me. I was like, oh my God.
Those are hard. The engine, when you're down that far in the engine room, the thing that scares me the most is if something happens down there, there's no clear exit. You have to climb up those narrow ass stairs, and somebody's going to be in the back. So somebody is going to be dragged away by the spirit. And I'm like, if we get stuck down here with the ghost, we're screwed.
I could have made a compilation of us complaining about being in the end, because whoever was in the back of the line was having a really bad time.
Yeah.
And I did not like it when I was doing it. It's I'm the biggest person in the group, and I'm sitting there looking over my shoulder oh my God, don't do it. I'm trying to push Joey behind me. Do it. But yeah, it's a bad feeling like something's behind you. But
poor Joey was our ghost bait through the entire battleship.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one that didn't lay on the table. I feel like I cheated the system. But you guys.
Well, if we go back, guess who's laying on the table?
Yeah, I'll do it next time. Now that I know which places to visit. But one thing I do want to point out real quick, I was rewatching your video, Michael, and I'm pretty positive it was yours. But it was during the laser grid session. I noticed that the exit light goes off at a point, and I don't remember that happening. Yeah, it's like the red light; it just kind of dims out, and it comes back, but it just goes away.
I'll have to go back and look, because I don't remember any of the exit lights doing that throughout the rest of the night. So it'd be really cool if it happened during the laser grid session.
Yeah, it was weird, because I remember I actually asked in the video, I don't know if it made it into your video, but I was like, turn off one of these red lights or something like that. And you don't see the actual exit light, but you see the red light from it, and it just dims out. And maybe it's the camera. I don't know. But I thought it was interesting. It caught my eye.
I'll go back and look. Was it the one we did in the engine room? That one?
I believe, yeah, it would have been the engine room. It's in the top right-ish corner.
Okay.
And on that note, everyone, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to MichaelScot and Joey Adventures, especially Joey, because she got screwed over by YouTube. Yeah, we got to do, on the ship, we got to do live streams from our phones, and now they make it where you have to have 1,000 subs to even do that. So if you want to see more creepy content from her, definitely subscribe. She's very close.
Yeah, she's getting so close. You had 925 or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
So you're almost there.
We'll annoy everyone until we get you there.
Yay!
Yeah. But thanks, Ghostwatch. We appreciate it. You guys are all awesome. After Dark said, so when you guys go visit a haunted hospital, which one of you is going to lay in the morgue table? Oh my God.
Michael.
I'll do it.
Man, that's intense.
I'll do it in the beginning of the night, because by the end of the night, I'm too afraid to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I would have done it at the end of the night. But like, I remember seeing something like that on one of those old investigation channels. Like, they'd only come out during Halloween, most haunted places or whatever. And they had one where they had to lay in the morgue, like the pull-out drawer, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. Like, that's had some history. But of course, that surgery table definitely had some history too.
Yeah.
So you'd probably fall asleep. It'd be so comfortable. Oh, I don't know. Like, I was joking around with Ethan and Rebecca before. I was like, I'm so tired. I might just might go to one of the creepy rooms and take a nap. I stayed awake that whole night.
Well, that's because Joey brought like a 12-pack of Red Bull and was dispersing them like a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Between that and Adderall, like, we were all wired. I was the only one on Adderall, but still. Chris said, when you guys visit a location like a haunted hospital, what makes you choose to lay on a morgue table instead of sitting in a corner and looking for activity? I would think it would I feel like we're almost provoking it, kind of, which probably isn't the best thing. But like, I feel like maybe if you recreate a situation that someone died in, maybe it would cause something to happen. That's my look on it. I don't know why they do it. They might just be crazy. So, ooh, a table.
I think I'm just crazy. No, I'm kidding. I don't, I just think, I always try to think of, places like hospitals and stuff like that. I was like, where would it have seen the most activity, or, the most death, because that's a lot of times where you find the most activity. And so I'm like, well, a surgical table or a morgue table, like, those are probably the places that have seen the most death. So jump on it.
Yeah. And that's something that, back to the provoking thing I was talking about, reviewing the footage, there's a lot of things I said I wish I hadn't, because like, we were in I think it was like one of the lunch rooms or the kitchen. And I'm like, you're supposed to be in the military. You shouldn't be afraid. Don't hide. And then, like, looking back, I was like, I should not have said that. Like, I was still in, like, we'd only had like one weird thing happen at that point. And I was like, let me provoke something to happen, because I was still kind of like a non-believer. And then afterwards, a lot more stuff did end up happening. But it's like, man, I wouldn't have said that if I thought something was listening. Like,
I was going to say, whatever you did worked.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd do it again. Like, I'd want something to happen, but I don't know. I feel like I disrespected it. So, yeah, I feel bad about that. But
yeah, it's always hard. Like, I feel like sometimes you have to walk a fine line, because you don't want to be disrespectful, but at the same time, you want to try to provoke whatever spirits are there to communicate with you. And sometimes ruffling feathers a little bit is a good way to get a reaction, So I think provoking without, like, name calling or being really rude, I think that's fine. Like, I don't think you did anything wrong while you were, calling out your spirits. I think it was just being like, come on, let's go,
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about repercussions later, because hopefully it was nothing, but some weird things have happened since then. But Chris also said, do you guys ever, like, being in a certain spot, do you ever think that you might hear something or make yourself hear something that's not actually there because you're expecting it? And for me, I'd say no, because I never know any of the history before walking into a place, which probably isn't the best. But on the same time, I don't know what to listen for. So if I hear something and then I go back later and realize that's something that's reported, it's like, oh, cool. But yeah, I think we all have pretty good tuned ears. Like, we're going to weed out the bullshit and, like, pay attention to what's actually odd.
Yeah.
And, like, you can usually tell the difference between, like, a normal, like, you know, like normal ship noises or house noises or something like that. And it's a little bit different when you're asking for something to make a noise and right after you ask, then you hear something. Those are kind of the pieces of evidence that I think are like special or valuable.
Yeah, and one thing that really got me was the I think you put in your video too, where you heard a voice and you thought it was a car horn, but then we heard it again audibly. And like the first time I didn't hear it, and I was going through the footage with my camera, and I didn't pick it up at all. But then I was like, oh wait, I was accidentally recording during that time, and you hear both of them, and it's like, I mean, we're hearing stuff in real life, and then you review it, it sounds like a whisper. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, you know, because I heard the first thing and I stopped and I said, did you guys hear that? And Blake, at that time, you didn't, I don't think you heard it. And then right after that is when we heard what sounded like a car horn, which looking back doesn't make any sense because we were deep in the ship and I don't think there's any way we would ever heard a car horn because there wasn't even anybody in the parking lot anywhere. We were the only ones there. And then right after that, we heard another voice, you know, and so it was just, even though I really like catching EVPs, it's really cool when you hear a disembodied voice like in the moment and while you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes me wonder if I've ever heard it before and I just didn't think it was anything. It's just like I heard a voice and I was like, must have been something else. But as far as what you were talking about, the car horn, he said there was no one in the parking lot. And how do we know that, Michael? Because
it was flooded.
Yeah, the guy told us when we got there, like they have one guy on the ship, and before you say anything, he wasn't with anywhere near us. He stayed on the like top deck and slept, and we were in like the very bottom of the ship. But he was like, high tide comes in at 11. I was like, okay, that's an interesting piece of advice. And then I think Michael had thought about going to his car to get something, and we go on the top deck and we look out, and the parking lot's underwater. So
it was completely flooded. I wasn't expecting that. They're like, I even said to them, I'm like, this is like a true horror movie. If we needed to leave, we can't. Like, the parking lot's flooded. There's no way to get to our car.
And not only was it flooded, there's apparently alligators in it.
Oh, yeah.
They have signs saying, do not feed the alligators. So we were literally trapped on the ship. And there is a safe room, but even from the safe room, you can hear like knocks and stuff happening. Like we were sitting there trying to recuperate. We just hear shit going on in the other room. It's like, okay. With the dude with us. So it's like the only dude that could have been there is like, whatever. But yeah, it was interesting. So let me do a quick thing about the USS North Carolina since we've been talking about it, just to give a little idea for those who didn't watch the video. So the USS North Carolina was launched on June 13th, 1940. The ship was known as the Showboat because of the attention she received during her completion of sea trials. The Showboat was the first battleship to be constructed in 16 years and was loaded with the most advanced technology of the time. When she was launched, the ship was considered the world's greatest sea weapon. She would go on to take part in every major naval offensive in the Pacific Theater during World War II. By war's end, the battleship had lost 10 men in action and had 67 wounded. Visitors, staff, and investigators have all confirmed seeing figures in various passageways and portholes around the ship. People often hear unexplained sounds, mysterious voices, and feel like they're being touched by an invisible force, Michael. I hadn't paid attention to that part. They often hear the phrases, hey, what are you doing? Why are you here? Don't come here again. Get back now. Get out. Items in the ship are known to move by themselves. Objects will be thrown or fly across various rooms, and sometimes you can hear the sound of footsteps or running coming from deep within the ship. Many believe those 10 men who passed away on the USS North Carolina still haunt the ship, and there have been numerous reports of people witnessing full-bodied apparitions. One sailor who was a soldier died in the battleship's washroom during a torpedo strike and is one of the most often seen apparitions on board. Another is that of a blonde man in uniform who is often witnessed still attempting to perform his duties even after death. Some ghostly spirits enjoy turning the lights on and off or opening and closing the different hatches throughout the ship. And I just realized something. It said that a soldier died in one of the washrooms. You know, the surgery, I mean, the infirmary where we had the 2 loud bangs.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bathroom on the left side.
Right next to it, yeah.
And I don't know if that's what got hit, but that is on the side of the ship. So
yeah, there was I think it was during, no, it wasn't during my live stream, it was during the video. I think it was I can't remember if it was right before I laid on the table by myself or afterwards. I was walking down one of the hallways near where the bathroom is, and that's where I heard the really loud footsteps. It actually, it sounded like somebody walking down the hall towards me, and I stopped in my video, and I was just waiting for like you or Joey to come around the corner because it sounded that close to me, and nobody came. It was just me.
Yeah, I had similar things. Like and you can go back and watch all of our live streams and see, what happened. But there were parts where I was like, oh, maybe it was Joey, maybe it was Michael, and then I don't run into them for like 30 minutes. And it's like, oh, maybe it wasn't them.
And the funny thing is too is a couple times when I bumped into, especially like when I bumped into Joey and I think bumped into you, I really didn't even hear you guys coming at all, and you guys were right around the corner. So I think that kind of debunks that it could have been one of us making footsteps or noises, because I never heard you guys coming when you were actually there.
That's true. Yeah, I had the same experience because Blake came behind a corner once, and then there's this flashlight in my face, and I'm like, oh! And it was terrifying because I didn't know he was coming. So
yeah, and there was another time that it's in my video where Michael had he was behind all of us, and then he just disappears and comes around a corner, and I didn't realize he was there until I'm right up on him, and I see him come around the corner. So when you hear something,
well, that's because you guys left me in the back, and I was like, I'm not going in the back. I'm going around the other way.
I don't blame you one bit. Like, it sucks being in the back. But yeah, it was definitely thinking about that. It's like the noises I did hear, I don't know, it was clear as day, and then you guys would just sneak up. The fact that you were able to sneak up makes it hard. But and people have talked about like creak. They're like, oh, well, maybe it's just the creaks in the ship that you guys were hearing. It's like, it's like I know what a ship creak sounds like. It's like that's not a ship creak. That's a loud bang.
Yeah.
Those are voices. I don't know. And like I said, the thing, people reported being touched, and Michael, you had an experience.
Yeah, that was so crazy in the barbershop when I was sitting there on the bench. And if you guys picture, you probably saw it in the video too, but if you picture what a park bench looks like with the 3 wooden slats, I was sitting there and I could distinctly feel as if someone just sat down next to me, and I could feel the other pieces of wood like move underneath me like somebody sat down, and I jumped up, and I was like, that's it. I'm like, I'm done sitting on this bench. Somebody else can sit here because I felt something.
Yeah. And again, like I didn't know, like I knew he was freaking out, but it's like I was like, it didn't happen to me, so who knows if it happened. But then when you review the footage and you hear like voices before and after, it's like, oh, there probably was.
And I think you guys asked something specific too, like did you touch him or did you sit down next to him? And I think the response was yes, or I did, or
yeah, I said I was like, was that you? And then I was like, I think I heard a breath before or after I said that, and then I said, did you touch him? And then you hear a yeah. Mm-hmm. And the weird thing is, like, I caught that on my phone, which was in my pocket, unbeknownst to me, recording. I didn't know it was recording. But throughout all of the recordings, you don't hear any breaths from me or anyone else. So whatever breathed had to have been right in the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it never picked me up at all, except I think it did pick me up when it was out, like during the bang sound, because I was gasping louder than I've ever gasped before. But Chris was talking in the comments about being a skeptic, and if you talked to me like a month and a half ago, I would have been right there with you, like very skeptical. But once it happens and you know the variables, you're alone, the only people in the ship are right next to you, you start thinking about things. So definitely keep an eye out, Chris, because it changed my viewpoint of things, and that's hard to do.
Yeah. And I'm really, you know, even me, like, as many experiences as I've had, I'm still very skeptical when I do have an experience. Like when me and Joey were coming down the stairs of the Bellamy Mansion, we got down to the bottom of the stairs, and to the right there was a window. And as I looked, I could see a distinct, like, face of an older man in the window, and it made me jump. And I looked again, and it was gone. And then it's one of those things where you talk yourself out of it, and you're like, well, it was probably just my imagination, or it was probably my reflection, or the way that the flashlight hit the window. And you come up with all these excuses of what it could be, instead of just saying, maybe I did see something in the window.
Yeah, that's good though. Like I really, that's the kind of people that I want to go to these places with. It's like I don't want someone to just jump on the first. I don't want someone to jump on paranormal. Like if they hear a footstep behind them, I don't want them to be like, "There's a ghost behind me." I want them to look behind them and see who's there. Like, and have been with people, like not in a professional setting, but like I have like guided investigations where a person felt a cold breeze and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a ghost." It's like, there's a window right there. It's open. It's not a ghost. So, or at least it's probably not a ghost. But I don't know. Some people jump on. How's it going, Johnny? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Sorry you have a migraine. That sucks. Fishbackian said, "I've always been worried that someone is hoaxing a Bigfoot sighting is going to get shot by some rednecks." Oh, they were talking about Sasquatch. Oh, let's see. So yeah, but yeah, I think it's good to be skeptical, and I think we all are. I mean, it's good to be open-minded, because if you're too skeptical, you won't believe anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and we've been places where like the people around there, like, you have to be open to the idea of it being real or nothing's going to happen. And I took that at the time as, oh, they're just saying if you don't try to make it happen, it's not going to happen. But I think you really do have to kind of be willing to accept that there could be stuff out there. I think it feeds off energy, definitely.
Yeah. If you have a closed mind to everything, you're just going to dismiss everything that happens as just being normal creaks and bumps, when it really could be something, Yeah.
And there were times like early in the investigation where, I'd hear something or someone else would hear something and I'd be like, oh, okay. But then when you start to think about it and the evidence starts adding up, it's like, that's probably something. But yeah, definitely going into whatever we do next, I'm definitely going to be a lot more open-minded, because it's just too many things to dismiss. And the evidence just kept piling up. I guarantee there's stuff I still haven't found, because there's so much footage that I didn't go through because I'm a procrastinator and I ran out of time. But like I would find stuff left and right. It literally got to the point where I was like, are you kidding? Another one? Like, there's stuff that didn't make the video because I found it too late. I found stuff in the barbershop after the video had already come out, and I'm like, oh, great. Too late to add that. But yeah, I think I shared that with you guys as more voices.
Yeah, and the more you listen to something back, I think that you're able to weed out I don't know how to say it. It's like the more you listen to it, you become familiar with that piece of audio. So you're kind of looking for other things that aren't normal in that environment. Like you become used to the normal noises, and you can weed those out more and hear what shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what really made it hard is I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but like going through the editing process, I always thought that if I picked up an EVP, like you've got your wavelengths of audio, like your equalization, whatever you want to call it. But I expected if I heard like a voice, it'd be a peak. But a lot of the stuff I heard was flatline. Like you could hear it clearly, but it was flatline. Like it didn't pick up. Like you have to you'd hear a weird thing and be like, oh, what's that? And then you'd amplify it and be like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, same with me. A lot of times when I catch an EVP, it doesn't register within like the wavelengths. It just looks like it's flat and they hear something.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many like normal videos, like at a birthday party, it was like, did I catch anything I just wasn't paying attention to?
Yeah.
I don't know. But had either of you heard about the battleship or been to it beforehand?
Well, no. Being, I live here in California, and I had never heard of the battleship until, we all started talking about going to it. And so, yeah, I've never heard of it.
What about you, Joey?
I have, and I went once in like 2013, and I wasn't like thinking about Ghost when I went. So, yeah, I've been there though before.
Yeah, a lot of my family has been there, and they talked about how many times they've been on the ship. Like, I'd seen it, but I'd never been on it. But I was telling my dad about it, and he was like, "There's no reason for that ship to be haunted." And I was like, "It's a battleship. It went to war." It's like there was a lot of fatalities. I mean, comparatively small, but still 10 people. That's more than my house has, and it's creepy. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, at night, it's just a total different experience when you have that whole ship to yourself. And that was such a cool thing, like to have the entire battleship just to the three of us. And it was relatively inexpensive considering. Like, I would definitely, for what happened to us, I would gladly pay the same amount again.
Me too.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, if we were to go back, the things we would do different. And one of the things I would do different is I don't know. I think I would solely use my night vision camera the whole time, because most of the stuff happened when we had no lights on whatsoever. It makes it difficult because of all the steep stairs and stuff, but I would probably just bring a flashlight and just my night vision.
Absolutely. And I'll touch more on that in a second, because that's a lesson I learned, is always always have a camera rolling. But Swamp Dweller's here. Good to see you. He said Blake promised me a kiss if I came. I was hoping I wouldn't have to deliver. Look at that fancy check mark. I'm not used to that yet. But yeah, Swamp, he needs to come next time we do the investigation. So he's down in the Florida swamps, so not too far. But it'll be a good time. I definitely want to go back like as soon as possible, and just, I don't know, now that we know what's going on there and like where to hang out, it'd be great. But yeah, so as far as the camera, I wish that I had been rolling so much more, because there's so many parts of my video where it's no video, just audio. And of course, I mean, you can't capture a sound on video as far as seeing it, but you see our reactions to it. And like Michael, the clip you got of us just like jumping up, that's pretty great.
I'm pretty sure Joey was almost out the door.
I'm a survivalist. I'll just run.
Yeah, and that was the scariest part. Like, we're all sitting there in the dark, and we hear the bang. And as soon as we hear the bang, immediately we all turned our lights on, and Joey's already up. Like, by the time the lights come on, and the bed is shaking so like violently from like how fast she got up, which I still think is kind of weird how much it was shaking considering. But I was like, oh, did that fucking bed just shake? It's like, oh, it was just Joey getting up at the speed of light.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, that's the reaction. Like, I kept asking for things to happen. Then when it did happen, I was like, oh no, what is that?
I like, after the first time we heard the loud bang, we asked for it again, and Joey's like, but a little quieter.
That's like, can you make a loud noise? And she's like, not that loud. And then
it was the dark. That's what scared me, being in the pitch black dark, and that's why I was scared.
It is so dark. Like, there's no, like, the Bellamy Mansion, when the lights, if we turned the lights off, there was still like traffic lights. There was still car lights coming through. Like, it was never completely dark. Maybe the very first floor, but that battleship, I mean, there's no windows. Like, there's no portholes going outside. If it's dark, it is, your eyes might as well be closed. But yeah, it gets creepy, and we just knew that if we turned it on, there's going to be something just standing there. And it was bad. Something I was telling a friend the other day is like, when we left, like, I was just in the parking lot by myself, which is my own fault. I told you guys to leave because I thought Rebecca and Ethan were closer. But they just come in, I'm just sitting on my suitcase, and they're like, aren't you scared being in this like sketchy parking lot by yourself? And I'm like, I'm not scared of anything in this parking lot. I'm scared of that ship. It's like, as long as I'm not on that ship right now, I don't give a shit. But
it was insane how much stuff happened. I can't, knowing how much goes on, and the guy that helped us that night, he's seen a lot of stuff. I can't imagine being him and going around and turning off all the lights by yourself at night all the time. Because he's talked about like seeing different apparitions and seeing and hearing things, and yet he's going around by himself turning off all the lights, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, he was so nonchalant about like the things he's talking about. He was like, we were like, yeah, we felt we had a weird time in the barbershop. He's like, oh, something grabbed your hair. I was like, is that a thing? He's like, yeah, people report that, and then I've seen a couple full body apparitions. I was like, dude, that's insane. Mm-hmm. But there was a part of the story. It's in our video, and the previous, I don't know how many previous, but one of the original guards that used to go through and turn off the lights and watch the ship at night, he experienced so many things that he wrote a book about it. And he said that he like his TV would turn on and off. He'd see things. He saw an apparition of a demon with like a burning, like a flaming head, which he said it had an evil presence to it, which the only time I really felt like an evil presence was around us was the barber shop. Like, even when we were hearing the bangs, I didn't feel threatened.
Yeah, I agree. When we were hearing the bangs, I didn't feel like a negative energy at all. It just kind of spooked me. But in the barber shop is I was really creeped out in there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's odd. I'd like to know more about the barber shop because, you both laid on a surgery table. We hung out in the sick ward, and then the barber shop is what freaked us out. And I don't know, like at the end of the night, we were all against a wall in the barbershop, just like, don't do anything. Like, please don't.
Mm-hmm. But well, it's because I can't remember if we got those noises on camera when we were in the barbershop, the loud.
I caught it on my voice recorder.
Yeah. And I think it was because it sounded like, when we were in the barbershop, it's not a big room, and it sounded like it came from directly outside the barbershop. And so I'm like, well, shit. I'm like, now we're just trapped in this room and can't get out.
Yeah, it was really weird. And that was the first big sound of the night that we'd actually heard. And again, it sounded like a loud bang, or like it almost sounded like it was a door slamming, which I don't think it was, but it was that scary. Like, the audio recording didn't pick up how startling it was. You just hear us freak out, of course. But I don't know. And that was in my pocket that it still caught it that loud. So, yeah. It was disheartening. It was like, oh, what's that?
Hi, Mandy Mortem. How are you?
I'm being awful at looking at the chat. Hey, Carrie, how's it going? She's moderating. Thanks, Carrie. We appreciate it. But yeah,
hi.
That was a really weird time. Gonzalo said, hi, Blake, Joey, Michael. Your channels rock. Thank you. You rock.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Gonzalo. Thank you.
Yeah, all of you guys rock. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. We got more to talk about, but yeah, we appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder if possibly whatever flaming thing he saw is what hangs around the barbershop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if there's any. I think you mentioned it earlier, but I'd like to know more history about the barbershop and if anything happened in there, that would cause it to be such a hot spot.
Yeah. So would you say out of all of the areas of the ship, do you think that was the creepiest overall, or do you think it was the one we heard the sounds in, or the surgery room?
I think it's a tie between the barbershop and the sick ward, not the actual surgical room, but that sick ward area with all the beds. I think those are the two. And it's just because in the sick ward area with all the beds, it made it really creepy. Like you were going to turn on the light and see somebody standing on the other side of the spring mattress area. And it was a really eerie room.
Yeah. What do you think, Joey?
I want to say the barber shop and the engine room, I felt the most uncomfortable. I mean, I did get a lot of activity around the surgical room and all, but it was, I don't know, I felt an uneasy presence in the other two.
The engine room really bothered me at first. I thought that was going to be the hot spot because I was like, that's the one of the deepest, darkest rooms. It's so like there's so much stuff going on in that room. It's like the really creepy part is like there's another level below the grates that you're stepping on. And it's like there's something down there watching. And but yeah, like I was watching the footage and it's like I react to like a footstep we hear and I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. And then little did I know what was coming.
It's funny. Nature's Baby just said you yell loud, Blake. Yes, he does yell really loud.
Yeah. Like, because I went into this experience very skeptical. So when shit started happening, I was like, it was the sound you heard wasn't just me yelling. It was the sound of my brain trying to figure out what's going on. My brain was just like, my whole world's being turned upside down. It's like not believing in unicorns. And then you're seeing a unicorn and it's like, oh my fucking God, what is that? It's like in the words of Will Smith, my life got turned upside down. So it's definitely an eye-opening experience. It's really renewed my interest in the paranormal, which I've always been interested, but now it's like I have an even greater drive to find out more.
I always tell people it's like an addiction. Once you start going investigating and catching this type of evidence, like you just want more and you want more and you want more. Definitely.
Because a lot of our stuff, like, we'll go to like colleges or stuff during the day. We don't really get to investigate during the nighttime or by ourselves. So it's like, oh, this is the ghost stories for this. Like we know a lot of people reported ghost stuff, but then when you experience it, it's like, oh shit, are they on? They're actually telling the truth. And it makes you wonder what else is real. Like, I don't know where the line stops, but there's definitely something going on.
Oh yeah.
So definitely anyone out there that wants to, just sometime if you're in a creepy place, just turn on your phone recorder and just, ask some questions and just review the footage and listen, and you might catch something. Because way more.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I'm done.
Oh, that's how I started investigating when I was like 15, 16 years old, and I would just go with my friends to graveyards and we would just have like a little recorder with us and we would just ask questions and watch it back later and see if we see or hear anything. And then we started bringing like my parents, you remember the old camcorders back then where you had it like on your shoulder?
Yeah.
We would bring my parents' camcorder with and see if we could like catch anything, orbs and stuff. And that's how I started, like way back when, and it was really cool.
Yeah, I was always interested. I never really, tried to record anything. I would go for the experience to creepy places, but now I wish I had recorded because it's like, man, what could maybe I would have known about stuff sooner. But always be recording. Carrie asks, where's Ethan? Ethan and Rebecca are on a trip to a creepy place. Can't talk about it, but it will be revealed soon enough. So it's going to be a good one. But Sabrina said, I need an experience like that. So awesome. Definitely. If you ever get an experience to like a chance to go somewhere like, really creepy or supposedly or reportedly haunted, definitely take it up.
Take the chance.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like I almost didn't go to the battleship because the whole experience, you do have to pay, of course, to stay overnight. And we had just stayed at the Bellamy Mansion, which was, it was a decent amount of money. And we didn't have that much, to my knowledge, experience, like any activity. So I was like, the next night I wanted to go to the battleship, but I was like, it's going to take a cut of my paycheck. But I'm so glad I did. And Rebecca and Ethan are pretty bummed that they didn't after hearing all the things that happened. And, Ethan was talking about earlier how he's glad that, he could go through my footage, the raw footage I gave him, and, find the things and be like, okay, I know he's not faking it because obviously he knows we're not going to fake anything. So, I mean, it's definitely, we're so glad I went. So,
I loved both experiences, but looking back at it now, I wish we would have just done like 2 nights at the battleship because we caught so much at the battleship. And even though Bellamy Mansion was really cool, there was just so much more activity on the battleship.
Definitely. And it was cheaper, like overall.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is like the mansion, again, it was cool, but it was like, it was creepiest if I was in a room by myself and I'd be like, oh, did I hear something? On the battleship, we're all together and it's like, what was that? There was no, did I hear something? It was, I heard something. What was that? So it was way more than I ever would have expected. Like if any of the singular things that had happened to us on that ship had happened, I would have thought my money was well spent. I would have been, obsessing over that. But leaving the ship, I was convinced it was the most haunted place I've ever experienced. But then when you go through the footage and you find all of the other stuff, like half of the investigation is stuff that you didn't even realize was going on. It's like listening to EVPs, hearing things you didn't hear, seeing shadows. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the video or the live stream, but like I caught a really weird shadow that I've tried to explain. I can't explain it. It moves on its own. There's a face that may or may not be weird. I don't know about that one.
I was going to say, yeah, is that what you're talking about, the face that you saw in your life?
Well, there was the face and then there was a shadow that was in the lunchroom. Both happened during the live stream. But the shadow, what happened is I was walking, I think 18 minutes into the live stream, if you guys want to check. And that's another way you know it's real. You can't edit live streams. So you can go back and watch it in its raw glory. But I walk into a room and you see, like, I have my phone in one hand, my flashlight in the other hand. And when I'm going into the room, you see like what looks to me like a torso and an arm just pull away really quick. But it's not like I thought it was me, but then you look at my camera and my flashlight and neither jerk away. So it's not me. There's no one else in the room. There's no figures like the cutouts in front of me. So I don't know what that was. And then the face, it could be something that was like on the wall, but I never saw it, whatever it was in other like videos I got from that area. And the fact that my camera turned on itself and in the 2 seconds that I happened to look up, I saw a face that's a little too coincidental for me.
Yeah, it was definitely, whatever it was, it 100% looked like a face and it was creepy.
Yeah, it was weird. And the thing is, like, I found some of those things like the shadow and that at first, like before I found any of the other stuff, and I was like, this is creepy, but I don't know if it's substantial. But then again, when you hear all the other things, it's like there's too much going on for this to be coincidental. It's like you can't. So you're saying, okay, 25 whispers and voices, a shadow and a face, loud knocks, that's all coincidence. And it just gets to a point where you can't write it off anymore. Gonzalo said, once you're truly touched by the paranormal, there's no turning back for some, like most of us watching. If I got touched, I don't know how I'd feel. Like,
the only time I felt, besides at the battleship when I felt like something sat down next to me, I was with Kyla at the Salem Inn in Salem, and we were in her room, and while we were in there, it felt like I was wearing a sweater, and it felt like somebody just had grabbed my sweater and just pulled a little bit on it, and that freaked me out. From that moment on in that room, I was like, I'm done. I want to go back to my room. It's a little bit too close for comfort.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't know how I'd react to that. Have you ever had anything happen like that, Joey?
I don't know. I felt like once I had something pull on a sleeve at the battlefield, but I try to talk myself out of it, so I have no idea,
Yeah. The only time I've ever had something that could have been something, I've kind of written it off in my head, but now I'm starting to think more about it, is I was at my ex-girlfriend's house one time, and we were having a party, and the power had gone out. So she and I were upstairs, she had a hallway leading to the kitchen, and we were waiting for like the power company to come and get it going back on. And we're up there talking in the hallway, looking at each other. And I feel someone like kind of tap my back, like they were pushing to get by me. And I turn around, I'm like, oh, sorry. And there's no one there. And I was like, what the fuck was that? But I was like, okay, write it off, whatever. But now you start to think about things like that. It's like, maybe I wasn't going crazy. So
yeah, I think a lot of even like you just said, yours and Joey's experiences before that, a lot of times we feel things like that and we just dismiss it right away because society has almost like taught us like, oh, it's your imagination, or it can't be real, or that doesn't exist. And I think a lot of things happen to us that we just write off like that when it could be something more.
Definitely. And when it happens, if it's a singular event, it's a lot easier to write off because it's like, okay, that could be something. But when it adds up, and Carrie asked, am I a believer now? I was like, before I was like a 25% believer at most. Now I'm like 95 to 98% sure that there's something going on. Whether it's ghosts, another dimension, demons, I don't know what it is. Something weird's going on. There is something in these places. But I probably won't be sure until like 100% sure until I see an apparition in front of me and disappear. But I don't want that to happen anymore. Like, I feel like if I saw it, it'd probably mess with me for a long time.
Mm-hmm. I would freak out if I saw an apparition, honestly. There is some evidence something is there, but it's like when you actually experience it, it's extremely shocking and just turns your world upside down.
Yeah, and like my whole life, well, past childhood, I've always been about like I like living in the dark. I'm a dark person. I'll have like blackout shades. I want to be in the dark. I've had a lot of trouble being in the dark lately, and I don't like it. When the lights go out, or if it's a certain time of night, I don't feel comfortable. I feel like something's there. It's like just a weird presence, like a weird feeling. I never had that before.
And I think since the battleship, we've all been having kind of weird experiences.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Joey.
Oh, God. Well, a few days after, for me, the first experience I felt was, well, I didn't feel it. I had these lights on my wall start shaking out of nowhere, and like nothing was near them. And I was just sitting like in the middle of my bed playing Mario, and all of a sudden, like, I see the lights shaking and I hear it, and like 30 seconds later it falls down. And I was like, okay, I can't understand why that happened. We don't have earthquakes. I'm like, that's weird. I was like, is there something knocking it on the floor, like a rodent or something? But no, I don't think so. And I'll share the other experience later.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Michael?
It started the night after we stayed there. I was in my hotel room still in North Carolina before I left, and it was so weird because I was laying in bed and I only had the TV on. It was dark, and I kept having this feeling like something was standing in the corner of the room just watching me. And so that kind of like gave me the creeps, and that night I slept with the TV on because I was too afraid to be in the dark. But since I've gotten home now, there's been 2 or 3 times where I've heard these weird random like knocking on my walls, and not normal. You know what normal creaks and sounds sound like in your home? These are like distinct like knocks on the wall. And whenever it happens, it always sounds like it's coming from the wall, like right behind me or right next to me. It doesn't sound like it's coming from somewhere in the house, which is, it's been a little weird. And I don't know, I'll let you tell your experience first, like before I say why.
Yeah. So when I first got home, I had an eerie feeling. I chalked that up to just knowing new things. Like after experiencing that, you start to pay attention to more things. But I heard like little knocks that I may not have paid attention to before. But it was like, okay, whatever. but I can't remember how long after it was. It wasn't very long. I was laying in bed, and I have a husky, Navi, that hangs around. And whenever I would take her out, I'd have her leash, and then I'd bring her back in. I'd put it on top of like a washing machine back there, actually. And I put on the top, whatever. Well, one day I was just sitting there, and I hear something sliding. I was like, "What is that?" And Navi's like growling, which she doesn't do. Like, she'll every now and then she'll talk back like a husky does, but she was like growling, and her ears were back. I was like, "What's going on?" And I see the leash like slowly sliding off the washing machine. I'm like, whatever, it's probably nothing. And then she starts walking towards it, just growling and like really like whatever. It was freaking her out. And it never ended up falling, but whatever. I was like, singular event, whatever. So I went to sleep early that night, and I hadn't touched my computer since like noon. And I went to sleep at about 8. Well, I woke up at 11 to music playing on my computer at full blast, which the full blast part might have been my fault, but I definitely didn't play music while I was sleeping. And I woke up, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? What's that? What's going on? And like, I noticed it was my computer. So I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. So I get up, turn down the volume. I go back in my bed, a little shaken, and I try to go back to sleep. And then I hear what sounds like dragging coming from upstairs. And it's like, that sounds like one of the kitchen chairs moving. And I was definitely too chicken to go check it out. It was like about 2 or 3 in the morning. So if you believe in the witching hour, it was near that time. And the next morning I went up, and maybe it was a coincidence, maybe someone had moved it, but the most unsittable chair, like it was in the most awkward spot against the wall, had been pulled out like, a couple, probably like 6 inches. And I try to keep everything pushed in. So I was like, that's kind of weird. And then since then, I've heard, just noises that I can't explain, like knocks. I've heard something moving, and that scared me a little bit talking about this shit. I heard drag, like a chair dragging. I'm like, what is that? Not now. But yeah, I've heard, like, I have a little garage behind that door over there, and I've heard stuff in there moving. Could be a mouse, not likely. It could be a mouse. Who knows? But Navi definitely reacts to things that aren't there. She starts staring at things that she shouldn't. Like, I have a double recliner. She's just suddenly started staring at a lot, and I don't like that. So I don't sit in that seat anymore. But that's the main thing. I did have a thing a couple days ago where I heard a loud bang, like something had fallen off one of my shelves, and Navi went to check it out, and then did it again, and she ran off, and I couldn't find what made the noises. Like, it didn't look like anything fell off. So
I want to hear your guys' like thoughts or opinions on why you think this stuff is happening. For me personally, I know when you go to these haunted locations, there's always the chance that something could follow you home. Personally, I kind of think it's more rare for that to happen, for things to follow you home, because if you think about it, these spirits, these ghosts, they've been there for decades and years, and I feel like it's very unlikely that they're just going to choose somebody to go home with. But I do feel like the more that you open yourself up to the paranormal or the spirit world, I think it just it opens up like your intuitiveness, and it acts like a beacon to other spirits or ghosts that may be around you. And I think your own psychic awareness goes up, and so you're more alert and aware of these things going on around you that you weren't aware of before.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on it, I never really thought of that as even being a thing. I never thought about going to these creepy places and something coming home with me. And hopefully that's not what happened. Hopefully these are all just coincidences and I'm going crazy. But I talked to my dad about it and just explained some of the things that were happening. And, he's more of a religious person than I am. Like, he actually, he's read the Bible multiple times. And if you want to get into that, he was talking about how I was like, well, that doesn't sound like a ghost. That sounds like a demon. I was like, don't tell me that. It was like, I never even thought about demons in the process. It's like, I don't want to, like, that would be a really bad way to find out demons are real. It's like, oh, great, I got a roommate. And I always told myself, they were like, what if something followed you home? And I'd be like, oh, well, it'd make great YouTube videos. I'll have a sitcom, living with the ghost. But then stuff starts happening, and you're like, I don't think I like it. But yeah, I don't know if it's if something did follow us because maybe we like not you guys, but I maybe because I antagonized it. I don't know. But I hope nothing followed us. It feels like it a lot sometimes because I definitely didn't experience this stuff before. Like I had weird stuff happen, but not, this frequently.
Well, and since we've been back, you and Joey have had the most experiences. And I think it's ironic that you guys are having the most experiences and you both were told to get out during your videos.
I'm just going to keep rubbing that in. But on that note, we were both told to get out. Do you want to start your other experience, Joey?
Okay, I'll go first, I guess. I didn't want to note this publicly because, I have to be skeptic when these things happen. And I was at work. It was sometime last week, I guess, Monday or something. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting in my computer chair and like I feel this burning sensation on my hand, and all of a sudden I look down and I look at my hand and there's this like fresh scratch, and I took a picture of it, and I actually still have it, like a scar from it, like right here. And I was like, is it a paper cut? Is it like, but it's like too long to be a paper cut. I mean, I can post the photo if people want me to on Twitter to see like how it looked when it was fresh and like how it looks now. But it was a very odd experience to like have because it just came out of nowhere. I don't remember getting injured, and yeah.
Yeah, so we were talking on Twitter, and she told me that. Whoops, sorry. She told me that, and I was like, again, kind of thinking is like, okay, maybe she's thinking into it too much because I'm just an asshole, and I assume that anyone else, even after going through all that shit, I'm like, okay, they think that happened, but again, if it doesn't happen to me, I'm not going to think too much of it. But at the time, I don't think if she had said it, I didn't pay attention to it. I don't think you told us until the next day. But like I'd had a burning sensation on my like shoulder area and my tricep, and I was like, what is this? And I was telling them before the stream, I was like, I thought it was like skin cancer. I was like, is this what skin cancer feels like? I don't have insurance anymore. And I was like, this is gonna be a problem. And then the next day, I was feeling my back and I feel a scratch. And I'm like, what? That it definitely wasn't there the day before. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And so I took a picture of it, and I was like, so I found a scratch. And then she started talking about the burning sensation. I was like, that's weird. And, I've tried to explain it. I've talked to Rebecca. Rebecca thought maybe it was Navi scratching me during the night. But I think I would have noticed that. And she was like, well, that would explain the burning feeling. But the burning feeling came before the scratch. So she was like, oh, the bacteria is what makes the burning feeling. But I didn't have a scratch. So it just kind of came out of nowhere, but it looked just like Joey's. I don't know, lengthwise it was about 3 inches, but it was right on my back. I have a picture too if you guys want us to show it somewhere. But it gets weird. Like when coincidences like that happen, you start thinking it's not coincidences.
I think you guys should post them on Twitter, and let me just say again that I haven't been scratched. I think they like me better.
He just hasn't found it. He's actually getting scratched all over. He just hasn't noticed it.
Tomorrow I'm gonna wake up with this like huge scratch across my face.
That's what I was scared of. I was afraid that there was going to be more, and then I'd end up having 3 scratches down my back. It's like, oh no, that's not good. Carell, let's see what you say. Carell said, you guys also disturbed them by going to the battleship at night and walking around. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even said at one point, I was like, are we keeping you up? I was like, you guys trying to sleep? And I think that you got an EVP around that time, one of you.
Yeah, I did. I think it said something like, well, find out or something. Like, and I was like, wow, this ghost is like sarcastic.
Yeah, so it's just something really cool, guys. I mean, again, I never thought too much about the paranormal as far as thinking it was real, but going on like this experience just that night alone, you know, not even 12 hours, all the stuff that happened to us, it's insane. And the fact that it happened, like, it's not like we were just alone. It's like all three of us experiencing it at the same time. I always thought that the less amount of people, the better. Like if I'm alone in a room, stuff's more likely to happen, but all three of us were having it happen. And like the most experiences when we were together. So it's not shy, whatever's on there, it's not shy. But
yeah, it definitely responded to us well and wanted itself to be known.
It's known. And we're definitely going back. I feel like we have to go back. Like you can't get that much, and you can't get that much like activity and be like, okay, well that's a good memory. Let's never go back there again. Like I always thought about, you know, Dracula's castle or the Queen Mary, which Michael's gotten to go to how many times? Like if he goes again, I think he gets a free ice cream.
I'm going again in like 3 weeks.
Man, I hope you catch a lot. But I am kind of wondering is like which of the ships has more activity, at least to you. Because
I definitely feel like the battleship has had more activity for sure.
Yeah. I feel like the battleship is like the unsung. It's just over there, like no one's paying attention to it. It's like legit freaking me out.
Yeah, you know, it was creepy being on the Queen Mary. I wonder if I would be able to get more activity if we were allowed into the most haunted area, which is like the pool and the locker room. But you're not allowed in those areas. But battleship by far has had a lot more activity.
Yeah, and again, like even on top of that, the guy was like, there was no restrictions. Like we could go anywhere in the ship except for like where the guys were sleeping, like their personal like room. But he was like, you guys can go anywhere. We didn't investigate half the ship, probably 3/4 of the ship, because it was so much. We never went above deck. Like they had the upper deck, never went there, never even touched it. And the guy even said like, you know, most people don't go up there because they have so much activity down there. But like in stuff during the day, like the guy said that recently, I think Ghost Hunters or one of the teams had gone there, like one of the big famous teams had gone there, and a girl in the investigation was like, so you know, the only two actual people aside from our group on the ship are you and the blonde guy in the office, right? And he's like, what blonde guy in the office? And she's like, there's a blonde guy over there in the office. And this is like 11 a.m. he said. And he's like, there's no one else on this ship, you know, that works here. And she was like, I'll show you. And she brought him over. And he's like, that room is padlocked. And he opened the hatch door, looks in, the padlock's on there. He's like, there's no one in that room. And that's one of the more reported ghosts is a blonde male, which we never saw, but you know, could have felt it. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like now that we know what areas are like hot spots, it'd be cool to go back and focus a lot of time in those areas.
Yeah, I would definitely want to leave a recorder in one of those rooms and just come back to it later and see what happens. But I really want to get, you know, another what's it called, night vision camera. One thing I really want to get, but it's so expensive. I want to get the GoPro 360 camera, and I want to do a 360 investigation.
That'd be really cool.
That way people can just like look behind me and see what's going on behind me. But they are like $400, $500 actually. So not yet. One day. If we ever hit it big on YouTube, we'll get that. But yeah, so when are we going to investigate again, guys? We got to get together and do another one.
I thought we were talking about a certain place. Did anybody reach out to them yet?
I forgot. I didn't forget that we're doing it. I forgot to reach out.
See, wait, everybody come for Blake on Twitter and make sure he remembers to get the next one booked.
Right. And then after that, you'll probably have to message the people and tell them to actually let us do it. Because they just, like, we reached out one time and they didn't answer. But I think that's more about the people just being busy and not having time. But there is an insane asylum somewhere that we are trying to investigate. So We'll let you know more about that when we have concrete details. But I think that's the only place that I've been to that could rival the Battleship as far as, you know, creepiness and variability. Like there's so many different areas and they're all completely different from each other. There's like a bowling alley, all sorts of things. So that'll be cool. But we definitely, aside from what we do there, I think we definitely have to go back to the Battleship soon. So Michael's just got to get some more plane tickets and travel across the world.
I know, it's such a long flight. Oh my God.
How long was that flight? That's got to be awful.
I think it was just about 5.5 hours.
Oh my goodness. The longest I've ever been on was 2 hours, and that was bad.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's long flights like that where I'd almost rather have a layover so I can get off, stretch, walk around, grab something to eat, and then get back on another flight.
Yeah, that would be nice. Spooky Whispering said, get the 360 GoPro and the GoPro gimbal. It's so smooth. I do have the gimbal, but I don't have the 360 GoPro. That would be cool, though. Gimbals make a big difference. The only problem is that the GoPro doesn't really pick up very well if it's dark. I wish they'd make a GoPro with night vision. That'd be perfect.
I want to, before I do another investigation, I want to get a couple motion detectors too, the ones that like go off if something goes in front of it. I think that'd be really cool to leave in a room and hear it if something goes through it while we're in another room.
Definitely. Yeah, and I bought one before our investigation at Home Depot. I don't know how accurate it is, but we just never really had anything moving that we knew of, so I didn't think to set it up anywhere. But I don't know, if like I was hoping like if a room had like a door that had slammed or that we thought had slammed, I'd set it up, but that'll be there for the next one. Between all of us, we should have some pretty cool stuff to set up. So, but yeah, I'm super excited about everything we have coming up. Do you guys have any spots like that you'd kill to go to? Like I know someone mentioned the suicide forest in Japan, which is probably off limits now. But
yeah, I would love it. It would be so awesome to go there. But after what's his face, I'm afraid to put that on YouTube because I feel like it would just get banned right away. You know what I mean? But other than that, I would love to be able to investigate the catacombs.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be really awesome. I'm a little bit afraid of getting lost and never coming out of it. But I think the catacombs would be really, really cool to investigate.
Definitely. I mean, you know, there's got to be, if anywhere is haunted, they've got to have a lot of residual spirits going on. It's literally, the walls are literally paved with skulls. But we've probably talked about it. Have you seen As Above, So Below, right?
I love that movie. I feel like it's one of those movies that not many people have seen, and it's so good that they should. It's just, I don't know, I really loved it.
Yeah, it was a lot better than I expected going in. I thought it was just going to be another found footage movie, but it gets real quick. So, and yesterday I'd watched it way back in the day, but I rewatched it on Netflix. If you guys are interested and haven't seen it, Chernobyl Diaries.
Is that the one where they go to Chernobyl and then their car breaks down with other?
Yeah.
That one? Yeah, that was a good one too. I like that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it more this time. It's like that's somewhere I'd love to go, except I'd probably want to wear a suit, like something to protect me. But that's got to be just a really creepy place. Like Carrie said, As Above, So Below is so underrated. Yeah, it's really underrated. Very good.
I haven't seen them.
You haven't seen either?
No.
What?
Oh my God! Do you have Netflix?
Yes, I do.
I think they're both on Netflix, actually.
Okay, well, I'll be watching that tonight then.
Definitely start with As Above, So Below, because that one's really good. They're both good, but that one's really good.
I love As Above, So Below because I love found footage and I love spooky movies, but I like the intelligence behind it, finding clues that lead you further and further down this like rabbit hole, and I think it's just so well written. Yeah,
it's really good. I remember like when they were talking about it, like before it come out, they sent PewDiePie to the catacombs, like a publicity stunt. And I was like, oh, that's neat. And then I watched the movie, like, oh no, That's creepy. Basically, if you go, stay with your tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine staying overnight in that?
Claustrophobic.
Oh yeah, that would be a problem. Huh. But yeah, definitely go watch that. And anyone else who hasn't seen it, go watch that. Oh, and After Dark Paranormal said in the new season, Sabrina's on, even though they don't do witches justice.
I was about to cancel this live stream tonight because Sabrina is out and it's calling my name.
I knew it was coming out. I had no idea it was today, so I was pretty excited about that. Do you watch it, Joey?
I've watched it. I like it. I don't love it. I think because it's I don't know. It's not scary, but it is interesting. So I like it.
Yeah, I think Spooky Whispering hates it. I can't remember. I think someone did not like it at all. I think it's just, I really like the dark tone they took. I guess it's closer to the comic version. I don't know. But I just like that it's not the Sabrina I grew up with. Like, it's surprisingly dark.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty excited to watch that. She said, oh my God, I just watched almost all of them. They're amazing. You're going to die. Again, witches aren't evil. Don't pray to Satan. But, yeah, there's a lot of Satanism. I think that turned a lot of people off. Like, my sister tried to watch it and she was like, oh, they're just asking for evil stuff. I don't want to bring that stuff in my house. So, yeah, Spooky said it was her. Carrie said maybe we should Rabbit as above, so below on Rabbit tonight. If you could find it, I'd be down for it. If you guys don't know what Rabbit is, it's like an app where you can watch a movie with other people. It's pretty neat.
Oh, really? I've never heard of it before.
It's cool. I don't know the legality of it, and I can't really assume it's legal. But if someone else is doing it, whatever. But it is on Netflix if you want to watch it the other way, and very worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours. That flew by. But how else can people find you guys? Like, aside from YouTube, which, again, if you haven't already, subscribed to Michael Scott and Joey Adventures, both great content. We all made a ton of videos, 6 videos altogether, 4 videos altogether throughout our investigation. And yeah, so what other platforms can people find you on?
Go ahead, Joey. Ladies first.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Joey Adventures, and on Instagram, it's Joey Adventures.
Yeah, and she posts a lot of investigation videos. She's got some really creepy stuff. I was watching that video, The Shadow Hand, the other day. Did you ever figure out what that was? Because that's really weird.
It actually happened in this place. No, I didn't figure out what it was, but I thought it was weird. I got to recreate it, though. I've been meaning to, and I just haven't been over here since. So
the thing is, even if it wasn't paranormal, it's still scary as fuck. So, yeah, so definitely go check her out and get her to 1,000 subscribers so she can live stream from her phone again, because YouTube's mean. Yeah. But great channel. And then Michael?
My main things are YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's all the same. It's MichaelScot YT, or just search Michael Scott, one word, and that should come up somewhere.
Yeah, don't do 2 words, because then it's The Office, which I get really frustrated with. It's like, I don't care about this. No offense to all the Office people out there.
I know. I think at least once a week I'll get a comment on my channel saying, ha ha ha, Michael Scott from The Office. And I'm like, I've had the name since 1983. Thank you.
Yeah. Before the first show even came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everyone definitely check them out if you haven't already. If you think that my videos picked up a lot of stuff, they picked up stuff that I didn't pick up. So definitely go check it out and all their other stuff. And Michael just came out with a video today about, you pronounce it again. I know I messed it up.
La Llorona.
La Llorona. That's still whatever. But yeah, is that in the Conjuring universe or is that separate?
It's separate. It's okay. Outside the Conjuring universe.
Okay, I didn't know if it was coming out. Also, there's a new Annabelle movie coming out, just saying.
Oh my God, it looks like it's really good. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about it. But yeah, so do you guys have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to tell anybody or anything we didn't cover?
I don't think so. I think just be on the lookout because we're planning new stuff for you guys. We want to get together again.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. So everybody, again, check Michael Scott and Joey Adventures out. They're great people, great videos. Check them out. But we appreciate you spending your Friday night with us or Saturday morning, whatever time zone you're in. But again, keep an eye out for everyone, and we'll see you guys soon. So until next time, stay strange.